session. Like I think it's about maybe about 10 minutes of video, and then after this, I hope we can discuss a bit about indigenous peoples and law. Yeah, it's important. We have our own law, we have our own indigenous law, but the reality is we indigenous communities are now living in a bigger community, yeah, with new laws, whether it was built up by our local leaders or maybe it was imported during colonial times. So um, sometimes as indigenous peoples we get oppressed. We are usually the minority, and the modern wave uh, corners and presses on us. So this first session is going to talk a bit about um, at the international level, what have indigenous activists and leaders all over the world have campaigned and worked hard for to try and set up a framework or some sort of reference at the international level to help all of us indigenous communities all over the world to align and fight for our rights. Yeah. And I've recorded the session because I'm just worried that the internet might be bad and, parts of my words might be disconnected. So uh, it will still be me, but a recorded version of me. Uh, and I hope it's not too boring because it's not very dynamic since a recorded thing. So just try to keep up, stay awake for about 10-ish minutes like that. So that's all. Thank you. Over to you, Father Alberto and Teacher Luis.
Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you joining us from diverse Indigenous nations and communities across the world. I'm truly honored to be with you, even in this online space, as we come together to learn about something deeply important: Indigenous rights. This session is a safe space for learning and reflection. There is no pressure to get everything perfect. This is about understanding and empowerment. Over the next hour, we'll explore what Indigenous rights are, why they matter, and how they are recognized internationally, especially through something called the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, or UNDRIP for short. Before we begin, take a quiet moment to reflect on this question. What do rights mean to you, in your life or in your community? We're talking about Indigenous rights because history has shown us that general human rights protections haven't always been enough. Colonization, land depossession, and cultural loss have had deep and lasting impacts on the indigenous peoples around the world. That's why we need to talk specifically about indigenous rights. These are not special rights, they're inherent rights. They arise from our unique identities, our relationships with the land, and our ways of life. Our rights affirm who we are as peoples, as cultures, and as nations. You may have heard of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's a foundational document for human rights around the world. But indigenous peoples needed something more specific, a declaration that fully recognized our unique histories, cultures, and challenges. That's why the United Nations created UNDRIP, the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. UNDRIP is not a treaty, it's a declaration, which means it isn't legally binding for all countries. But that doesn't make it weak. It has a powerful influence on how courts, governments, and communities think about indigenous rights. Let's go through a few key articles from UN DRIP that are especially important. Self-determination, Article 3. This is the foundation. It means we have the right to determine our own future politically, socially, economically, and culturally. We are not just communities. We are peoples with the right to choose our path. For example, in the Philippines, there's a law called the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act, or IPRA, passed back in 1997. It officially recognized the right of indigenous communities to govern themselves and make decisions about their own development. While putting it into practice hasn't always been easy, it gives communities a legal path to assert self-determination within the national system. Next is the right to our lands, territories, and resources, Article 26. Our connection to the land is sacred. UN DRIP recognizes our right to own, use, and control the lands and resources we have traditionally used. It's not just about economics, it's about cultural survival. In Malaysia, indigenous communities like the Mameri in Selangor or the Iban in Sarawak have had to fight long legal battles to protect their traditional lands, often against powerful companies or development projects. There have been some victories where the courts acknowledge their customary land rights, which shows that the law can work in their favor. Right now, the Kalaik community is actually in the middle of a high court case, trying to defend their ancestral land from being damaged by external projects. It's a powerful reminder that land isn't just property, it's identity, heritage, and survival. Another important article is the right to free, prior, and informed consent, FPIC, in Article 32. This is the right to say yes or no to any project that affects our lands or our rights. Not after the fact, before anything happens. For example, imagine a company wants to build a mine near your community. FPIC means that they must get your informed consent, not just inform you. In parts of India, some indigenous communities have pushed back hard against mining projects that threaten their lands. What's often missing in these cases is genuine consultation. Companies might hold a meeting but not fully explain what the project means. Or they go ahead without waiting for a clear yes or no. That's not real consent. FPIC is about being informed, being heard, and having the power to make a decision before anything moves forward. The last article I want to highlight is on cultural rights, Articles 11 until 13. These articles affirm your right to practice and revitalize your languages, customs, and spiritual practices. Passing on your language or holding a traditional ceremony. These are protected rights. Even though the UN DRIP isn't binding for all countries, it sets a universal standard. It gives us a powerful tool for advocacy and change. All across Southeast Asia, indigenous groups are working hard to keep their languages, traditions, and knowledge alive. In Vietnam, The Hmong community, for example, is preserving its traditional weaving and celebrating cultural festivals with pride. In Indonesia, many indigenous peoples are protecting their customary laws, their own ways of governing and organizing community life, because these are as much a part of their identity as language or ceremony. These efforts show that the culture is alive and it's being actively passed on. I also want to briefly mention the International Labour Organization Convention 169, ILO Convention 169. It's a legally binding international treaty about indigenous and tribal peoples. Some countries have signed it, giving it even more legal weight. Take a few moments to reflect. What stood out to you from this session? Which right felt especially important for your community? Remember, these are your rights, not given by governments or institutions, but affirmed by them. Before the next session, I'd like you to explore two things. Task 1. Find UN drip in your language. Can you find a version of UN drip, a video, a poster, a translation, in your country's national language? Even more importantly, in your indigenous language? This shows us whether your community has access to these important rights in the languages that matter. Task 2. Reflect on a principle. Pick one principle, maybe land rights, FPIC, cultural rights, and find an example of it in your community. Is it being respected or is it being violated? You could ask your elders, look at local news, or think about a development project or a cultural tradition. The point is not to do academic research, it's to connect what you've learned to your everyday life. That's how rights become real. Anyway, so that's it. Until next time.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the short video. So if you notice at the end where I gave two tasks, this session was meant to be in two parts. One talking about principles at an international level, and another, the second session was supposed to talk about um, legal principles that your courts or your laws can apply in your country, or maybe they do already. So maybe after our TOT in Thailand, we can talk about it. We can maybe continue on the second session. But that's it. So before we start talking about it, how was it? Did you all, was it hard to understand? I know these kind of topics can be pretty boring sometimes. Any feedback? Hmm. Well, uh,
Actually, when we speak about the rights, it's heavy. It's a little bit heavy, but we have to come, especially for us that we are not very much connected and working with it. So it's a little bit, say yes, heavy, and you make a summarize also. So we have to go back and to see what is and what we can catch and what we can use and what we can take, like, get profit of it.
thank you, Sister Dore. I think you really hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Eh, these these things are
Mm,
the body, the rights, all of
mm,
this at international level is it can be very complex, especially
mm,
since it is written in maybe language, legal language that may
mm,
not be the most accessible to our
mm,
communities. But
mm,
I'm glad that my session can make you think, oh, maybe I can look more about further. Yeah, so this is
Yeah,
good.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
we can see the people in. I am only 1 year here among the people of the tribes in Cambodia is my first experience. But since searching in internet, there is a lot of work that they are doing and trying to come out with good ideas and all and promoting this. So these elements are nice because we are supposed to accompany them and to promote them for them to know all these things and to search for that right. So it's very interesting. So it encourages us to search and to understand it in a very simple way to transfer and to transmit to them.
Yes, that's very good. I think Cambodia, especially with the
Mm.
many indigenous communities,
Yeah.
uh, have a lot of treasure, yeah, in their culture. And I
Yeah,
think,
very
and I
nice.
think
Yeah.
after the conflict,
Mm.
uh, maybe a lot of links were
Mm.
lost.
Mm. Mm.
But I think it's good time to we start thinking
Mm.
about the young people to look back,
Mm. Mm.
to see, reclaim their culture, and also to
Mm.
reframe on based on their own will, understanding instead
Yeah.
of forced by others. Yeah.
Yes, correct, correct. Thank you so much. Good.
Mm. So, uh,
Um,
yes, Father.
yes, thank you, Jubili, for presenting this part. Yes, we had to deep more,
Mm.
and after the in the sec in the we call it third period of the ToT. So we are finishing today the first period that was the Chiang Mai modules. We have now Chiang Mai, and then after we have the third period that is the modules after that until December. So I think we can continue working in this about the rights and laws of indigenous peoples.
Mm.
And it is very important. I just put in the group in the WhatsApp. You can see there, for example, in especially in Latin America, in our indigenous communities, we talk about the law of origin. No,
Yeah.
this is something that the rights are not a conceived, no, from a powerful state or something like that. No, that we feel pity for the indigenous people, so we give them some rights, etc. That's not true. No, we are talking about the indigenous peoples who are ancestral. No, and then it means that they are present in the land millenniums before. No,
Mm.
and then that's why, especially going to the Latin American indigenous communities, we talk there about the law of origins. No,
Yeah.
and it means it counts, no, for the customs, traditions, spiritualities, no, and then it should be respected, no, by everybody, no. And then I put also another thing about the source of indigenous law, no, that we have, for example, the conception of the sacred land. No, people can say that you have to respect the indigenous lands because it is a human right, and then it's true. No, that is true. But behind there, in the beginning, going back again to the origin of law, the conception of the land is sacred. No? And that we can match also with our theological conception. No? We see the 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 mention of the land, no, in the Bible, the scriptures, is sacred. No, that they say the land is mine; it belongs to God. No, that's why it's sacred. No, this is very important. The other things, no, is the custom, the traditions, no, that should be respected in one place. Something like, you really mentioned about the language. No, we see, for example, in many states, no, they are very dedicated to make the young people to forget their languages and to talk, the national language as a kind of symbol of unity, but actually they are erasing, the
Yes.
identity. So when the people stop to talk the language, so their rights are erased, because after they say you are not indigenous person because you don't talk this language, or you don't practice more any all these kind of things. So this is the conflict. That's why it's very important to preserve, culture, language, traditions, spiritualities, land. No? That's the most important. So that's why any situation or any contact relation with indigenous people, we have to have these principles of law, no? And then for me, I underline this principle of law of origin. No, I think we have to develop it also here in Asia, indigenous people, because it goes precisely to the roots, no, to the ancient roots, no.
Mm.
Yes, I agree. Uh, Sometimes we talk about law like it's some sort of modern creation, but it's not. Indigenous people have always had law. It's just that the government, the current governments think indigenous law, the law of origin, is not law because it's not written down, you see. But you see, the law of indigenous peoples is not written down but practiced. It is not contained in paper, but it's contained in our lives, in our culture, in our stories, in our songs, how we interact with each other.
Mm.
Um, just an interesting note about the UN drip, yeah. As Father Alberto mentioned about language, about our mother tongue. Uh, I know we'll be busy in Thailand, but I hope that once you go back to Thailand, you can look at the two tasks that I gave, especially the first one. I'd like I'd like everyone to try and find the UN drip in your own language, not just the national language, you see, because based on the initial endorsement of that document, only 4 countries rejected it. Of course, these 4 countries uh, have endorsed it already, but it was funny enough, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United States. They rejected it initially, but as of 2020, they have endorsed it again. But for example, Thailand was one of the first ones to endorse it. So they cannot say when you talk to government at high level about talking about indigenous rights, they cannot say they do not know UN RIP because they signed it. Now, because it's a declaration, it's not binding, but it's a promise between countries that they aspire and respect these rights. Yeah. So that's something interesting to think about. Any other comments or maybe some sort of uh, experience from any of you? Anybody from the Philippines? Or maybe from Indonesia? The our Malaysia's neighbors, Philippines and Indonesia, have very interesting experience when it comes to at least indigenous rights. In Malaysia, we are divided into 3 regions: the peninsula of Malaysia and the Borneo Island of Malaysia. So the Borneo Island part of Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak, have very specific laws written down to uh, protect indigenous rights. In fact, native courts are funded by the government in Sabah and Sarawak. It's good because there's recognition, although because there is funding, there is also a room for interference from the government. However, from on the peninsula side of Malaysia, separated by the sea, they have nothing. The indigenous people there are barely recognized, or they're seen as primitive people that need to be protected and kept in uh, reservations. So that's an interesting part on Malaysian side. How about the other countries that are here? Would you like to share? Oh, I see somebody from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is one of the countries that abstained from indicating whether or not they are in favor of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. They did not say they approve, but they also did not say that they reject it, you know. So I think if that's an interesting when you go back and look at the situation in your country, I think it's an interesting thing to look why what happened and what led Bangladesh to feel that they could not give a definite statement at that moment in time. Yeah.
Um, because the majority people always with majority people and indigenous people there is always some chaotic or situation also dominating. There is no conflict. We just we're just suffering. We are not fighting for our rights. We have to be quiet because we are very few numbers. So we can't fight with them. And yeah, for our southern part, um, we called it hill tracks area, and there is the most of the indigenous peoples are living. Where we are, our indigenous community living, it's next to Meghalaya's. It's India part. So we are also very, as a community, we are not a good number here. So what we are facing that the majority people they are it start I think um, after the liberation war the majority people they just get in our villages and in our community and then dominate us and now we have land prices, we fight for land rights, and many other things. But um, uh, in general, we know how to lead life with them now. It's not that bad, but somehow for the dominate, I mean, that dominate things and the crisis, it's here. And that's why indigenous peoples are in crisis, their life and yeah, everything. For our community, I can say we are exactly not in high risk, but I can say it's risky. Now our community is not like that. What was 15 years back. Thank you for listening.
Ah, thank you, our participant from Bangladesh, Miss Holly, is it? Yes, thank you for your sharing. Don't worry, you're not alone in this situation. There are many indigenous communities right now who cannot uh, conflict or openly fight back uh, because of the numbers, population, as well as the political situation in their country. But don't lose hope because we are indigenous peoples. We are very patient people. Yeah, we're not we don't give up very easily. I feel that even though we are not fighting, we can do education. Yeah. So even though you're not a conflict with the dominant group, there is no harm in educating our communities about the existence of this, because I guess if you think of it as planting a tree, uh, you put the seed, it will not grow immediately, right? So you have to water the soil, till it, give it fertilizer. The same. So think of watering, fertilizing, preparing the soil as education. Maybe getting people to know that, oh, at at international level, people are talking about this. People are talking about these rights, and maybe this struggle is not for our generation, but for the generations in 20 or 30 years in advance. Yeah. So don't lose hope, and don't worry, you're not alone. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your sharing, and I hope to see you in Chiang Mai soon. Mm.
Thank you for the encouraging words. It's yeah, see you all in Chiang Mai.
Yes. So, any other participants uh, who have the desire to share their situation on the ground or in their community? It doesn't have to be the country. It can be also your own village or your own district or province, maybe. That would be good. We have a bit more time, but I don't see the problem of if there's no more, we can leave also early, yeah, Father, because people need to get ready, and also uh, I'd like I'd like you all to take time to how you say, digest digest what you heard just now, yeah. Oh, and don't worry, the video, I think Teacher Luis will make sure the video gets uploaded. But I also have the slides with the script, the my speaking notes, the one I said on it, so you can also read it. Especially if you want to translate it into your language, maybe there are words I used which were hard, or maybe I spoke too fast. You can use the PDF as well. Now we will upload it to the resources later, so don't worry about it anymore. Okay. I'm looking at the recording clock up there. We are about to enter 40 minutes, so maybe it's a good time to wrap up, yeah, Father. Everyone can rest and get ready for the trip to Chiang Mai.
Yes, I think that could be okay. And yeah, we are already preparing, no,
Mm.
for flights and all the travel, no, to Chiang Mai. Yes, I think usually we can end the session. And you already know that Jubili is our boss for the program, huh? So so we are going to see and the encounter also with Father Nipot, and to everybody.
Mm.
So I think those who can know, and now I'm seeing Georgie, huh? And then those who cannot come, maybe they continue with the modules until December, and after in the next opportunity, next physical encounter that we have, no, could be in Chiang Mai or could be in another place. We discuss about it afterward, so we can continue. So we continue in the process. So the idea that ToT, as we are going to explain, is a dynamic process of growing and experience, sharing experiences, etc. No, something more complex than just a course or something like that. No, we do a network of knowledge and information and sharing and everything and experiences. So if there is nothing more that we can talk, maybe somebody has any question just in this moment, or we can end the session.
Yeah, maybe I just say something there.
Yes, Georgie, please.
So I will not be able to join. I well, I have other things here, and I think what Jubilee has delivered is very good. We have tried in Malaysia to promote it at the indigenous level, translated it into our national language because we have different languages. My experience for that one, just to capture at the indigenous communities level, is very positive, and especially having what you call provided the history of like 20 years of different indigenous leaders from different countries who have make it a draft, and then later it become a discussion between the government. And now we are learning about what the government needs to address or provide, and actually for indigenous people to read article by article, especially what GB has highlighted, is a very helpful, especially when there is uh, uh, very big development aggression for the community. And I really like the analogy or the example of the seed or the tree, and how the tree needs to grow slowly but surely with all the resources. So I'm very happy to be able to refresh and get actually inspired, enlightened by that. Because at the moment, actually, we are here in the communities uh, explaining how important FPIC is. But at the same time, the community is struggling not just to fight, but actually to have access and benefit sharing. This is another, I think, related convention that is at the international level. When we talk about laws that have relations with the community or indigenous people, the Convention of Biological Diversity, which actually outlines some ways where community can probably demand or state why they are why the territories is very important because of their culture and way of life. So I think a lot of more discussion, I think, to continue. So I'm really happy that we have started this route, and then this organic intellectual training is really, for me, it's very important as we do our community organizing here. So thank you. That was a bit long, yeah. I'm very
No
happy. So
problem. No problem, Joy. Very
I
nice
cannot.
to hear you. Yes.
Okay, bye bye.
Okay, okay. So now I have one message from Nayana. I will put a little. I will share a little. So when you arrive to the airport, please look for the sign. I put also in the group in the WhatsApp. So you look for that sign when you arrive to the Chiang Mai airport with some of our team leaders with that sign. Okay. So you will have it in the WhatsApp also, no? That the symbol of the ToT team. And yes, just try to keep also the contact by the WhatsApp. No, if there need anything, you just contact with any information in the WhatsApp group. No, and let's pray. So the angels will lead everybody of us to Chiang Mai. So have a nice and wonderful travel, and see you soon. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
see you all soon.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe